everyone. It's Megan Townsend from GLAAD here, and I am super excited today because we are talking to Kat Barrell and Dominique Provost-Chalkley from Sci-Fi's Wynonna Earp. First part of season 4 has just finished airing, and we are so looking forward to the rest coming up. Thank you for joining us today, and congrats on the new season.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is super fun.
So we can't start anywhere else here but with the amazing fans, the Earpers. They've always been one of the most passionate fan bases, and they have proven themselves to be a force when they organized last year with the hashtag Fight for Wynonna campaign. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and the reaction from the fans and what that kind of year was like?
Yeah, I mean, cool. It feels like an eternity ago now, doesn't it, Kat?
Yeah, it really does.
It's been a real roller coaster. I think, I mean, please do go first, Kat, if you want to kick us off. I was just about to say, though, not only is there a fight for season 4, there's actually a fight for 5 now, apparently. That's already. Have you seen that, Kat?
No,
already?
I haven't seen it yet. Wow. I'm not surprised. I mean, it just shows you the dedication of the Earpers. They're amazing.
Exactly. It's quite remarkable. But yeah, it was, for me, it was a crazy experience. I was in Brazil at the time when we just didn't get any news about going back. And there was this sort of prolonged break that we didn't really understand. And I just kept extending my trip and thinking, okay, well, I'll book a ticket back whenever we find out about, season 4, about when we're going back. And it just kept on going. And then we were having some correspondence, like, us cast, and just sort of trying to speculate about what was going on. And then of course the movement started, which was most magical thing to see. I felt so far removed just because of the nature of where I was, and when I came back and people were updating me on all of the incredible efforts that the Earpers went to, it just felt so surreal. It just felt like the most amazing representation of fighting for something you love, and was incredibly inspiring. And yeah, it's been a marker for me in many ways of how to fight for something that you love, and passion in its like most authentic form. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Well said.
That's awesome. So being queer actors and being out, and you're both playing queer characters, what has that journey kind of been like for you, and what has been the impact of Nicole and Waverly for yourselves outside of how much they mean to all of the fans?
Wow. I think it's really nice to have been much more part of the queer community than I ever had been before working on Wynonna Earp. I think it's definitely helped me solidify some things about my own identity for myself that I don't know if I ever would have as fully understand it about myself if I hadn't had this experience, I guess. But I don't know. It's hard to say what would I be like without this experience versus with, because who knows what else would have come into my life. But I feel like just being so a part of the community and being at these amazing conventions with people and celebrating with people. And I think I was given the privilege of growing up in a very accepting environment. I grew up in a big theater community, and I was surrounded by amazing queer people and just supportive people. And I always felt really like I didn't have any sort of, I guess, shame around my sexuality, which unfortunately is, I know, the case for so many people that I've met and spoke to, and it's a big part of their coming out journey. So I think for me that was a really, really important to see and just be reminded of how much fight we still have, and how much there's still so much further we have to go towards better understanding and acceptance of each other. But I'm just, you know, being with the Wynonna Earp community, especially within the queer community, has just reinvigorated for me the importance that we keep moving forward. I think representation in our media is so important. We need to see all different types of relationships represented and all different types of people. And I think when you're from somewhere where you don't have that, like I was so lucky to have those beautiful examples growing up, but when you don't have that, media just becomes your outlet. And I'm reminded of that again and again. And I have been really grateful for that, especially the experience with the community of just being able to constantly be reminded that we still have places to go and barriers to break down, and just how important that is.
Oh, Kat, so beautiful. So beautiful. So true. So true. And, you know, you talk about everybody having such a different experience. And I think, you know, I am one of those people. I've carried with me a huge amount of shame and fear around my sexuality since I was a little girl. So to have been handed this character, this beautiful gift of a character that that has ultimately, you know, taught me to be proud of my own sexuality is just amazing. And the journey that, of course, I've been on since the beginning, since I opened that page in the script and was like, oh my God. And, you know, I remember it like it was yesterday, cup of coffee on the side over in Kensington, and just like the rush, the rush in my heart, you know, just beating so fast in my chest and realizing that this was maybe where I was going to have to finally address this part of myself and go on this journey. But yeah, what a gift that the universe gave me, because now I am in a very, very different position to where I was then. And like you say, it's largely down to being around the Earper community and seeing so many beautiful representations in them, you know, of incredibly colorful, beautiful human beings that that I admire so deeply. So having, you know, the opportunity to see myself represented in them because they see themselves represented in Waverly.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
It's such an amazing mirror that we, you know, but that's what I find so beautiful, is like how much they helped me, and without even knowing it, because they were coming to me to say how much I was helping them by playing Waverly. And actually everything I was feeling was just immense gratitude for them showing me what it's like to be proud of their sexuality or to be coming into their pride. So yeah, it's just like you say, Kat, it's been so important for so many people, and myself included.
I love that. I love the idea that, because you're absolutely right. I mean, being around that community of people, like it's such that give and take. That they've come to us with gratitude for what we've been a part of for them, but it goes like both ways completely.
Exactly.
And I mean, I just don't know, you know, who knows where either of us would have been without it. I guess to a certain extent.
Totally.
I think everyone's on their own journey and their own time, but I think there are certain things that are definitely meant to be, and this feels like one of those for sure in both of 100%. Our lives in different ways.
That was so beautifully said. I think it leads into one of the things that I've really kind of loved seeing, especially in the recent seasons, has been just Nicole kind of getting so close to Wynonna and kind of becoming another sister to her, and this really kind of meaningful found family that's really been created between the Earpers and Doc and just all, and Jeremy and all of these characters. So what has it been like for you kind of developing that relationship and for Nicole to have that kind of found family that she has now surrounded herself with.
Yeah, I love the theme of found family on our show. I think it's one of my favorite through lines of Wynonna Earp, this idea that you can choose your own family and it doesn't have to be the one that you were born into. And just that choice over who you let into your life and who affects you and who shapes you. And I mean, there are home situations that we can't get away from sometimes, but there is community out there and ways to find I always talk about this, like, I think it's so important that you find your tribe and find your people that lift you up and create a space for you to live as your most authentic self. And I think that that's a theme in Wynonna Earp all the time. And we're this sort of like ragtag group of misfits in some way, and that we've found this family and created this family together, I think is so perfect and beautiful. And I think Nicole was alone for a really long time. You know, she had friends and some extended family, but I don't think she really had that support system, that sort of, you know, someone who would be there for her no matter what. And I think it's part of what made her who she is and made her so dependent and so self-sufficient. But I think spending too long like that also breaks you away from a little bit of your humanity in a way, and that we need each other, and it's important to have people who love you around you, and the person who's gonna notice if you are not okay, or if you
give you a sense of belonging.
And I think she finally landed. It's been really beautiful to watch the journey of her. I think she's been someone who's always wanted to let people in, but she's been let down by a lot of really important figures in her life. I think it was hard for her maybe to feel like she was totally part of the family. I also think the nice thing that I love about Nicole is that she's not magical. Like, she's kind of one of our only characters that doesn't have, I mean, her and Nedley, I guess, that doesn't have a special ability or a power, but she's human. And I think it's so important to have those characters who are just like you and I, like, you know, just people. And they only have the tools that every other person in the audience watching would have in that situation. And I think that's a really cool quality about her too, that she's always sort of felt like she wasn't special enough to be part of the group, or she couldn't contribute enough because she didn't have anything more to give than just as she was. And I think it's been really cool to see her, really rewarding to see her find her place and feel settled with her people.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been for me when I was watching this season. Sort of, it seems like Nicole in a lot of ways has really kind of become sort of the heart of the family for this season, where she is driving towards this sacrifice and you know, how much she can give for others, and the impact that has on everybody. So I think, especially like watching episode 5, which I rewatched this morning, like, amazing performance. I was shook, but it's really like kind of felt like this is her season to really come into her own and see more of her, but also how she really has been so kind of folded into the family.
Yeah, it's just so nice to see her have that. I've wanted that for her for so long, and because I love her so much, and it's very gratifying to see a character that you have such an affinity for be in such a happy, like a happy place, which is where we now start to see her. This comes out after episode 6, right? I've like just bit my tongue a little bit. Okay, all right. To see her at the end of episode 6, exactly where she wants to be. And I just feel like that was really a big moment for all of our characters. We see them at very different places at the end of 6, but I'll speak on Nicole, and I just felt like she finally arrived at where she's been trying to get for so many years. And I was really happy for her.
Amazing. Yeah, I think there has been, you know, as fans, it feels like every season has really kind of given us new layer or a new side to Nicole and to Waverly, from like evil to angel and trauma to romance. Like you're kind of doing a little bit of everything. But now that you've been doing the show for a few years and you know these characters so well, how has that kind of sort of experience been to be able to live with those characters and develop them, and you know, Waverly and Nicole's dynamic as a couple, and how they relate to each other and how they relate to the bigger kind of family?
Well, I must say that during this prolonged break, I almost felt like I missed Waverly, which was an odd feeling. It was almost, I was so excited to reconnect with her because she's been such an inspiration as a character and as a person. Her example of bravery has been something that has really influenced me in my own life. So yeah, that pause almost felt like I was missing a part of myself. The part of me that develops when I play Waverly was almost slipping away in some ways, you know. That probably sounds very odd to people that don't act, but do you sort of understand what I mean, Kat?
I understand
like when you feel, you know, that, yeah, like there's something that happens when you play another character and you go through that journey and sort of exercise certain muscles that maybe you don't in your normal life. And so I did feel I felt very, very excited to reconnect with her this year. And I was expecting to find it harder to get back into Waverly because we had taken that time. You know, we hadn't taken the time. It wasn't that we wanted the break, but you know, that time had you know, had gone by. So but actually it was because I think we have been playing these characters for such a large chunk of our lives in some ways, you know, like, well, for me it feels like that, from 25 or to whatever to 30 or 24 to 30. It's a, you know, it's very impressionable, important years for me. So I think because of that, it was a lot easier than I was anticipating, coming back and stepping into her shoes. And it just feels like coming home now, which is a really beautiful feeling, coming home to, you know, that chosen family. And here in particular, I would say I've really loved the Waverly Nicole relationship, how the parts that we're representing now just feel, maybe it's because of where I'm at in my life and feeling so comfortable with that, it just feels like it's perfectly timed to explore and settle into that place of comfort and true love. You know, I think we're really seeing them becoming one. To become one. I just had that song pop into my head. But yeah, but like really, you know, two people becoming one force. It's really special. It's really, really special. And like, even, you know, like that scene that we did on the floor in, was it last episode or the one before? You know,
I forget which episode, but
when we had sex and like the post sex on the floor, like before and after sex on the kitchen floor, and like just how playful we were that day and how much time we got to spend on that scene.
I know, we did that scene honestly so many times. Bless Wynonna Murphy, who directed it.
Love that man. He was just like this, he just really wanted us to have that time. I think he was so happy for the characters as well, like seeing their journey. And like the director Ron Murphy was the director who did lots of very iconic Way Hot scenes just by chance. So like the initial scene when we first met, then the couch scene, you know, Nedley's couch, and then you know, huge scenes. So for him, I think that there is such a, like all of us, just like such a joy that where like a joy for the journey that we've come on. So we just got to play, you know, for probably too long, considering how, you know,
how strapped we are for
really.
time.
But, strapped me up for time. But I've really enjoyed those scenes, playing those scenes with you.
I feel
this
like we've
year.
had more
This was-
Nicole and Waverly this year than last year.
I think so.
I think so. It feels
yeah.
more. It, like, not just that
Yes,
we're getting
100%.
to, yeah, but we've had more scenes together, I would say. I think
Yeah,
it feels that way.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about the mid-season finale and that proposal. I loved it. I may have screamed at my desk a little bit. So with the engagement back on, is there anything that you can tell us about what is coming up for Waverly and Nicole? Maybe finally a Way Hot wedding?
Is there anything we can tell you?
Yeah,
Like,
is there
are you
anything
asking
coming
I
up
don't
that
know
we're-
what we're allowed to say. Don't put us in that position.
I think everyone will be really happy to continue to watch their journey. I think we've spoken a little bit about that scene, Dom. I know you and I have spoken about the fireplace proposal and just how beautiful it was. And it was just, again, it was sort of like Dom was saying about the last scene, that it was so amazing for the characters. Like, we want it for them so badly. And we want it for the audience. We want it for the amazing representation that we know it's going to provide for so many people. But at the core of it, it was so perfectly earned. Like, I feel like we always say this about Way Hot, but I think it's important to keep saying it. Like, I think the reason that this relationship strikes such a chord with people is because it's so well paced. I know that seems like a really silly thing to say, but I feel like every moment with them is earned, and that makes it feel so real and so grounded, because it just feels like we've been working towards it and fighting for it and working towards it. And it feels like the natural progression of a relationship. You know, these aren't characters who like got together in the first episode of meeting. And like, I think it's just been a beautiful journey to show like the real ebbs and flows of a real true love relationship. And I'm so happy with the way that the proposal, because I always wanted like a little bit of a redo on the proposal. I always thought that we could do more of it, you know, not something that was so grief-stricken and surrounded by so much pain, but something that deserved its own moment to be beautiful and vulnerable and fragile.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that though, like, all of the other characters were there too. I thought that was a really beautiful choice, and how it was almost very spontaneous in its, even though we've been waiting for it for such a long time, it was still had that sense of spontaneity and very Nicole and Waverly. And then, yeah, like I say, having the whole team around and feeling that sense of family and the fact that we're all in it together. There's just something so beautiful about that. And then, of course, like the roaring fire, and I just absolutely loved filming that scene, I have to say.
I can't wait to watch it, because I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen it? Have you seen
Other than like a tiny bit of ADR?
the whole thing.
I ADR'd a little bit of it too.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it in its
the whole thing build
the
up,
whole thing and the build up and the whole edits, and I'm excited to watch it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you both for being with us today. We cannot wait for the rest of season 4. And for all of you fans, don't miss all new episodes of Wynonna Earp coming to Sci-Fi in 2021.